A leader is a leader when someone's following. Some people say, they'll come and say, I'm a leader, and you look around, there's no one behind them. In the end, when you're a leader, you set the vision, you set the plan, you set the pace, people want to come on that journey. The leader walks the high road. It's less crowded. You see, most people operate on the low road because it's comfortable. To their mind, it's less risk, and it's very crowded because that's where most people operate. A leader in a business that's really growing, going forward, making a difference, innovating, whatever it is in the high road. The question for a leader is, do your people share your vision? And I'm going to share a practical way that you can go about maybe achieving that to most of your people. There's always going to be that 10%, around that 10% who will not agree, will always disagree, will always be opposed. When you decide to do something, there'll always be 10% of people who won't agree. You cannot build a business, you cannot build anything on those 10%. They're not reliable, they're not supportive, they'll never continue following you, they'll always disagree, they'll never be happy. You could give them everything they ask for, they will still be unhappy. It is better that they isolated away from the rest of the group, or they leave and go somewhere else where they can be happy, or usually destroy that business as well. When I took over the ad agency for the last 2 years, I wasn't aware I was going to be approached about Gloria Jeans at the time, but I took over running the agency. We set about, I thought, well, I've got this job now, I better do something. And often leaders, I didn't know what to do at that point in time, by the way, but a lot of leaders in departments and companies and owners make very poor leaders. We put them into roles and we never invest in training or talking to people or finding or observing what's going on and start to practice things. So what separates a leader from a follower? There's really 3 questions you could ask yourself. What do we want from this business if you're a leader? Number 2, why do we want it? And number 3, how badly do we want it? Because when you really badly want it, you suddenly decide you have to do something about it. A good leaders hunt for wisdom. Actually, the book of Proverbs in the Old Testament says, good leaders hunt for wisdom as it were diamonds, very precious. And having wisdom in business is very important in decision making, in direction, in leadership. John Maxwell gives a few points that I read recently in a book that he put out, Leadership Gold. Very good book. It was in the recommended list I had yesterday. I read that about a couple of months ago. It has a lot of terrific stuff in there. It even has the Krispy Kreme story in there. And he says this, in leadership, the willingness to put oneself at risk. So if you're a leader in your business, are you willing to put yourself at risk? Unintentionally, I kept jumping off the edge of a cliff when I ran the ad agency, and then thought, man, I've got to learn to fly. Why did I make that decision? But spontaneously, I thought we needed to do this. And I committed. When you're submitting for a big piece of business, there are things you commit to or you decide to do on the spur of the moment that will get that business over the line. Many ad agencies will do that, but never deliver. The problem is when I commit to something, I then go through the torture of making sure it happens. But the interesting thing is you build a great relationship with a client when you actually can deliver. You may not get it always right, but you actually build a great relationship because they know they can trust you. They know when you say something, you're going to do the best you can to make that happen. Leadership, John Maxwell says, is the passion to make a difference with others, both those that work for you and in the community. Number 3, leadership is being dissatisfied with the current reality. If you become satisfied with where you are, you have a problem in your business because competitors or new entries to the market or whatever it is will take over. And if you're not aware of that, you lose the leadership position and you lose the market with that. And many companies over the years have took a comfortable position, and many people trained in degrees, taught how to do it by the textbook, but never learn that a customer does not buy a product or service often by the textbook. I had a client who spent months and months doing research, actually spent nearly half his budget on the brand in research because he would not make a decision. Every time we came with a recommendation, he would have to research it. The group research, and mind, just only a few small groups, there'd be some discussion about a word in the ad, and he would want to go back to research to check that out again, and then there'd be something else come up. And we had got into winter, it was a winter product, we had got into winter, and he still hadn't been on air. And one day I sat in a meeting with him and said, "Do you want us to book this?" And he said, "Yes." You see, he needed someone to push him. He was never willing to make the decision. He could have got through the whole winter and not advertised a product, which would have been disastrous, because no one's going to buy this product once you get to the end of winter or past winter. And there are people in leadership positions who will not make decisions. They want the comfort zone. A leader takes responsibility while others are making excuses. A leader sees the possibilities in a situation while others only see limitations. Many times through the advertising years of running a department and then the agency, and at times at Gloria Jeans, I had people come and say, "We have an impossible situation." Well, in the end, nothing's impossible. And in the end, even though it seems that way, you actually have to resolve it because it's going to have serious consequences to that business. And over time, I started to train people to think through there are solutions. Even if it's only a vague, outrageous idea, let's start there. And over time, I then had people coming to me with a problem, but they're actually coming with solutions as well because we trained them to start thinking that way. Because I'm not going to always be there to be able to come up with the solutions, and we need people to start taking accountability. A leader is a willingness to stand out in the crowd, has an open mind and an open heart, the ability to submerge your ego for the sake of what is best. There are many leaders who, through their ego, will destroy a business or relationships in the company with clients because of their ego. Egos does not pay the bills. Ego does not keep clients. Ego offends people. You've got to learn to let something pass through to the keeper that may be said or may be done, even if it's not going to protect your ego because it may be the right thing for the company. And a leader evokes in others the capacity to dream. See, if you can get your people that work for you to start to dream for themselves, about their job, about their life, they become passionate about what they do. He also says leadership, inspiring others with a vision of what they can actually contribute to that journey. It's also the power of harnessing the power of many. You see, on your own, you can't do it. If you're a single owner operator, maybe you can. But as you grow, you cannot do everything. Delegation becomes a key part of a leader, being able to delegate and let go. So often we let go, but we hang on. And the person won't make the decision because they know we're hanging around. You have to allow other people to make mistakes. It may cost money, but they need to learn from those to grow. As long as they don't keep making the same mistake.